Welcome to the channel. I am Ladewaybac, and today, to finish off my week with Ino, I'm going to show you what I've learned and how to win with this character. Now, Ino has a double jump, a quick backdash, and for her regular dash, it's actually a fly. Well, she actually flies, and you can do the same thing out of the air, and you can even fly backwards. And this allows for interesting things like instant overheads. Now, first off, we're going to go over Ino's punch, her crouching and standing punch. They both can hit multiple times like regular jabs and can also cancel into 6p. And what you want to do after that is a stroke the big tree as a simple combo. So if let's say you're getting lots of pressure on you and you have an opportunity to jab out, that would be your combo. Next up, we have her standing kick. Now, standing kick can be cancelled into a sweep, or it can be cancelled into 6p. And then, of course, we want to do the stroke the big tree if that lands. Now, also with kick, you can jump after you do it. So let's say, because stroke the big tree does not combo together with the kick. So you can throw that out to catch your opponent, but eventually he's going to get used to that. So what you can do is jump after kick and do something like the sultry performance, or you could even jump dash overhead. Now, your crouching kick can be cancelled into the same things that your standing kick can be cancelled into, except that you can't jump. So you have your sweep, you have your forward light punch, and as I forgot to mention, with the standing kick, you can do your forward heavy slash, which is very important for catching somebody with a combo. So the combo for the crouching low kick will be the same as it would be as if you're doing an overhead. So it would look like this. You want to do the heavy version of the stroke the big tree after you do your forward heavy slash. Now, typically if you have the meter, you want to Roman cancel that to an even bigger combo. Like I said, it could be the same with the overhead. Now, when you land your sweep, you typically want to do a antidepressant scale afterwards, which is her projectile, as it has a lot of blocks done to it, so you're able to go for a 50-50 situation. So let me show you. You go for the overhead and combo afterwards, or go low and combo afterwards. Now, lastly, for the sweep, what we can do instead of our projectile is we can just fly over our opponents for some mix-ups. Fly backwards, kick, and then you can go low afterwards. You could always just skip the jumping kick altogether. Or you can do the jumping kick and just go for a grab afterwards. And it's the same thing with the grab too. So you can just mix your opponent up all day doing this. All day. Next, we have our standing slash and our crouching slash, which have a really good distance to them, really good range, and typically you want to cancel that into stroke the big tree or a chemical love. Either one will do, and then you can do your regular combo afterwards. That's a cool little combo you can do after you land your close slash. Just wanted to show you that. Now, standing heavy has a good range to it, and it also has a bouncing property after you hit your opponent. But be aware that if your opponent is like mid-air, it will not hit them. They have to basically be on the ground. So I wouldn't throw that out too often, but crouching heavy now, that's what I use to fish for counters. And you can get a fairly good combo off of it. Here, let me move the opponent back just a little bit. Alright, check out the combo. And typically you want to go for the heavy version of the stroke the big tree if you land a counter. And it will hit every time. So if you get a counter with a standing medium or standing slash or crouching slash or the crouching heavy, then that's the combo you should do. I fish for combos with the crouching heavy because it has a very fast startup. Next up we have our forward heavy slash. Now, as you've seen, that's what we're gonna use for our combos. Now, something I want you to be aware of is that if you get a counter, you're gonna have to delay the heavy version of the stroke the big tree. So I'll show you what it looks like if I do it immediately. They go right under. So wait a second, and then do it, and then continue your combo afterwards if you have the meter. Now, if your opponent blocks your heavy version of stroke the big tree, I suggest that you do your forward heavy slash afterwards, but be aware that it can be jabbed out of. So it will set you back to neutral, so it's fairly safe, but you can get a good combo if your opponent does anything else besides the punch. Now, if getting jabbed out of your forward heavy slash is something you don't want to do, then you can always do your sweep afterwards. If I can get the timing right. There we go. Next up, we're moving on to our air normals. Now, Ino's air punches are, basically like the other characters where you can hit multiple times, but you can't do it after the dash like all the rest of our air normals, and you get 2 hits off of it. It has a good range and it's very fast, but I wouldn't typically use it, but it's something you could just throw out there. Next, we have our jumping slash. Now, as you already know, it's what we use for our combos, at least to start them. But be aware that if you're too far away from your opponent when it lands, then you won't get the quick startup of the forward heavy slash, as the first part will miss, so then it won't combo. So something you can do is you could do it twice, and then you'll get closer to your opponent in order to combo them. And one more thing about doing 2 overheads that are back to back, at least 2 overhead slashes, you can get jabbed out of it if that's what you're going for and your opponent's used to it. So I suggest using your stroke the big tree if that's what he's doing to you. Next, we have jumping heavy slash. Covers a really wide area and it typically wins air to airs, but the main thing I like to use it for is if I land a chemical love, as I get the knockdown, and then I could just get onto my opponent then, so I could start going for my mix-ups and such. But be aware, like if you're using it like that, just be wary of anti-airs, especially the 6P. Next up, we have our jumping kick. It's very fast, so we could use that for our tick throws. And we could also do our dust attack afterwards. So your opponent will be used to you doing your jumping slashes, so will think of like just 1 overhead. So that's why you want to do the kick and the dust attack, because that'll be 2. And then when the dust attack hits, you can do your sultry performance, any version, and it'll hit. And that's typically what I use my jump kick for. Now for our special moves. Now, first up, I'm going to go over sultry performance. Now, she has 3 versions that she can do. We have with the kick version, the slash version, and the heavy slash version. Now, you're able to bounce off your opponent if you hit the same button that you use. So if I'm doing the kick version, I have to hit kick again, and I'm able to bounce off my opponent, and then I could go for another overhead. Same with the slash, and the same with the heavy slash. And this ability can also be charged. So the reason for this is you don't want your opponent to know what you're gonna do in the air. So let's say you charge up the kick, he could be thinking you're doing the heavy slash version, so he jumps, or so he'll stay on the ground. And if you're like charging the heavy slash version, then maybe he'll think you're doing the slashing version, and then he'll jump, and then it'll hit him in the sky. So another important thing to know is if you're doing the heavy slash version, you will be vulnerable as you fall. So you want to make sure to hit your opponent so you can bounce off of him. And now I'm going to show you a combo you can do with your heavy slash version of Sultry Performance. And when you do the heavy slash version, before you want to hit 3 times before you hit the button again, or else you'll drop too quick. So 3 hits, and so go for the overhead, 3 hits, and then do the combo afterwards. Next up, we have our projectile, which is called antidepressant scale. It's pretty slow moving, but you can't control the direction it goes. So you can make it go down low, or you can make it go up high. You can guide it the whole time it's in the air. So you go down, then move it up, and vice versa. You can also do it in the air. So let's say you want to keep your opponent on the ground, just throw it in the air, and then you can go at him. Next up, we have Chemical Love, which has a very good range to it. And as I said before, I like to get my knockdowns off of it so I can close in on my opponent with a heavy slash. But keep in mind that it can be ducked and even run under. So if your opponent is low in any way, then it will go under them and you could be putting yourself in danger. So keep that in mind. Now next, Stroke the Big Tree. Now Stroke the Big Tree is a low, and you've already seen what you can do throughout the guide. You've already seen what you can do with it, but there's one more thing that I want to show you. You can cancel the first hit of forward heavy slash into Stroke the Big Tree, and it will combo together. As you see, 2 hits, and you can do it multiple times. So if you want a wall carry, that's an option that you have. And one more thing, you can also use this as a burst bait. So let's say your opponent likes to burst as soon as he gets hit by your attack. So if you do Stroke the Big Tree afterwards, it will go right under it. And then you can proceed to land a combo on him afterwards. Next we have Ultimate Fortissimo. It can be used in the air. So for instance, you can fly to your opponent and just do it right after there. So like if you're looking out for like a 6P or something, then you can fly up to them and do that for a pretty easy hit. But be aware that it can be countered. It can only be countered after the first hit. So if just this part hits, then they can't counter you afterwards. But if it's just the first part, they can just knock you right out of it. Now let's take off the counter here. You can lay on a lot of pressure after you use it too, so they have to guess afterwards, and then because it leaves them in a shock state, so then you start going up for your 50-50s afterwards. And lastly, I'm going to show you a couple of corner combos. And that is my guide to Eno. Leave a like if this video has helped you in any way, and subscribe for daily fighting game content. Thanks for watching.